What's up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So today let's talk about the charts of famous people. So it's very, very difficult. There's not really like a formula for this, but I'll give you some indicators that I see a lot in famous people's charts. So let's really intro get into it. All right, welcome. So first, let's start with the 4 royal stars. So these are Regulus, which is around 29 Leo, Aldebaran, which is between 9 and 10 Gemini, and Antares between 9 and 10 Sag, Fomalhaut around 4 through 4 Pisces, right? And these either on the ascendant or the midheaven. Very, very close conjunctions, obviously, on other planets as well, but they have to be like really, really close, like within like 0.10, something like that, for like sun or moon or ones like that. The ascendant, depending on the star, and you could also add Spica, which is 24 degrees Libra, in there, and yeah, like I've seen Algol a good amount, 26. Taurus and Alphecca, 12 Scorpio. Those ones are pretty good. But yeah, mainly those top 4, and yeah. So people with that can have like a really horrible chart, but they can be destined for fame, for some type of karmic reason in this lifetime. So yeah. Another one I've seen a lot, so obviously there's different levels of fame. Having back-to-back planets, so a lot of times the shapes of famous people's charts will have like 3, let's say like they'll have like a bunch of planets in the 12th, a bunch of planets in the 11th, a bunch of planets in the 1st. It'll be like most of the planets will be like in this concentrated area, something like that. With less oppositions, let's just say. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not famous people who have, like a lot of famous people have like Saturn, tough Saturn oppositions, and they have to work really, really hard and overcome a lot of difficulty. But, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about, famous people because of their wealth, actors, singers, so this is like a very just, I'm going to say things, and this is a video that's impossible to truly make, but I'm making it anyways. Another one, being born on a new moon. Now, this is just from an observation I've made. More so in today's world with social media or more like YouTubers, people who are influential in the new generation. A lot of them are born on new moons, meaning that their sun and moon are in the same sign or even conjunct. And this is just something I've noticed, right? And, it kind of can make them just like a pure essence of that energy, and make less of a splitting situation. Like, for example, someone who has like sun in Pisces, moon in Sagittarius, like myself, you have like 2 parts of your personality. So you'd have like the one part that's more introverted, one part that's more out there. And someone who has, if you imagine that versus someone who has that new moon energy, it's like the captain is going, and there's 2 captains going in the same direction. Okay, so obviously like planets conjunct any of the 4 angles, mainly the midheaven and also the ascendant. Mainly those 2, Jupiter on the midheaven, Sun on the midheaven. But that doesn't always bring fame, but a lot of times it does. Like I have looked at a lot of famous charts that have had Sun on the midheaven, or in Jupiter as well, more Sun, and also Venus, right? Venus, Neptune, like lots of like models having like Neptune rising or Neptune midheaven, Mercury rising for models, and yeah. So, oh hey Esme, come here. So here's Esme. You guys know Esme, my famous astrology cat. I'll follow her on Instagram at Esme, EZME, cat astrology. So next is the Yeah, so also the part of fortune. If the part of fortune is on the midheaven, that's a really good sign. Um, Especially if it's like with, you know, Venus or Jupiter or, you know, the sun. You know, it can really and a really like with Pablo Escobar, for example, is just a good example of someone first that comes to my mind. He had, you know, from a random like pretty poor part of Colombia, he had and if you actually know about it, like look into his story, there's other people that were. It seemed like he wasn't like really the main guy, you know. Like there's other people that were doing. He was the famous one, right? But there's people who were like behind the scenes. So that Antares, he had Antares. Was it sun? His sun was conjunct Antares, conjunct the midheaven. So it's like, come on, right? Like pretty much an exact conjunction. Antares is like the king of the underworld. If you guys want to learn more about the royal stars, search Jesse Innocent Royal Stars on YouTube, and I have an old video that's one of my best performing videos on his channel. But then I think did I make a new one? I can't remember. Okay, next is let's see. Yeah, Neptune rising, I think is like gives that like glamour, that vibe, that kind of like je ne sais quoi. Like, you know, it's very it's, you know, Neptune on an angle, I feel like is really, really good for that as well. Not just models, you know, Neptune rules cameras, so, you know, actors, actresses, all that. But yeah, people tend to kind of see that person as a projection of what they want to see, regardless of like, you know, whether that person is or isn't that way. So it's very interesting. Next, you know, look at the ruler of your midheaven. So if you have a Taurus midheaven, where's Venus? If you have Leo midheaven, where's the sun? And see where that planet falls, right? So that could give more information on that. Like, let me think of an example. I don't know. It's just like if you have like a very, like, let's say you have a Sag midheaven, right? And then you have Jupiter in Cancer, right? So in a very, very in Cancer, you know, conjunct the sun, trine Venus, something like that in a good house. I don't know, a good public house, yeah. And yeah, just like good positive aspects to the ascendant, like Jupiter. Obviously, I think I already said Jupiter rising, but like Jupiter trine the ascendant. But really, like, honestly, with fame, Leo rising is like a ascendant I see a lot. But the thing with fame is that it's so random. Like, let's be real. Like, there's things I see more than not, but like it's really like I would say the stars are huge, right? But you'll see someone's chart who's famous, and you'll be like, what? Like, what is so special, right? But then you have that kind of makes you think, okay, like what? Why are they famous? Are they an industry plant type fame? You know, is it like a fame where they win? But still, even that is divine, even if it's artificial. Okay, so there's still other stars that I'm not going to get into, like every fixed star related to that, but one placement I've seen in so many famous people's charts is Mars in Capricorn or Mars square Saturn, Mars opposite Saturn. Now, if we're talking athletes, we're not going to go down there, right? Because that's a whole different story. But like, you know, athletes a lot of times will have, it's not really that much about the Mars sign. You'd think it'd be Mars and Aries. It's more Mars on an angle or Mars, a lot of times it's Mars in Cancer, or what you consider a weak Mars, but it's making like some really like tight squares to outer planets. You know, square to Pluto, square to Uranus, square to even Neptune. Neptune is a big one for athletes, right? Mars, Neptune. I'm reading my notes, guys. Yeah, because like that Saturn, that Capricorn, that Mars energy, Mars, how you move forward, and Capricorn or Saturn, it just means that they have to grind super, super hard for the first 30 years, and after that, they tend to get some relief, and they still are left with that, you know, determination and hardworkingness, if that's a word. It's not a word. Next, a grand trine. So that is when 3 planets, or it could be more, but like basically, you know, you have one planet here, one planet trine the other one here, and then they're both trine the other one here in the same element. And why I said there could be other ones is if like there's like, let's say there's Venus and Mars are conjunct at 20 Pisces, and then you have Moon at 20 Cancer, and then you have Pluto at 20 Scorpio. That'd be an example. So even a T-square though, because like sometimes, or a T-square or a kite, right? A kite, like, so these aspect patterns can kind of push people. They can be like, kites can be very linked to like talent, but then also that opposition down the middle can kind of like move that person from potential laziness or taking their talents for granted and actually make them. It really depends like what planets are involved and what's you know, which one is at the, or you know, which one's at the apex, and that one, those get a little bit more complicated. But yeah, different aspect patterns can be linked to that. And let's see. So yeah, in terms of signs, there's like that's not really a thing. You know, there's not really like a sign like, oh, like, you know, Leo. There's probably like, yes, there are a lot of famous people who are Leos, right? But there's also a lot of billionaires that are Cancers. I think it's way more complicated. You know, Cancer suns, it's way more complicated than that. And then you might think, oh, well, if someone has a Pisces moon, they're probably not going to be a public figure. Well, guess what? There's so many public figures who have Pisces moons. Everything kind of blows you away and makes you think like, damn, like maybe some people just are not living in line with their natal charts, or they haven't. That's a whole different video. But maybe they haven't gotten that deep into themselves, so they're like less connected with the chart, or you know, maybe because they're public figures, they're not really showing their true self, or they haven't evolved into that true self, or they've kind of try to create themselves to fit into a societal box as opposed to being authentic. Anyways, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. All right, ciao, bye bye.